to a blockchain to be moved into that blockchain in a tokenized form. To do that, doing that is an important component of growing the DeFi market, because it tears down the barriers and the walls that are limiting blockchain applications and dApps to the walls of their own blockchain, and enables them to interact with other blockchains as well. So this is useful both in terms of bringing the liquidity of other assets, so such as the case of Bitcoin, that has a bigger liquidity than Ethereum and other Ethereum-based tokens, but also it enables for composability across blockchains. So there are DeFi projects built on EOS as well, for example, and at the moment there is no the composability of these products is not possible with the ones built on Ethereum. So thanks to the P-token system, one of the aims of the P-token system is to tear down this barrier and enable for cross-chain DeFi composability as well. To do that, we started from Bitcoin, of course, because Bitcoin is it's the oldest cryptocurrency, but most of all is the cryptocurrency with the highest market capitalization, and also one of the most traded currencies. So that's where we started from, by bringing Bitcoin on Ethereum. To do that, we followed a few main pillars, I would say, because our team has been working in the crypto space for quite a few years now. I think we understand quite well what are the key values of the space, and the key values that we wanted to follow to build the Bitcoin to Ethereum bridge that is to focus on security, liquidity, and transparency. So what we are doing with PBTC on ETH, so it is basically just bringing the Bitcoin asset to Ethereum. While doing that, we are implementing a one-to-one pegging, so that the underlying asset, which is Bitcoin, is always used as a pegging one-to-one. And in this sense, this means that every PBTC on Ethereum, every tokenized version of Bitcoin available on Ethereum is always pegged one-to-one to a real Bitcoin that is there, underlying, locked to that, and tied to that PBTC. So to do that, we have decided to implement a flow that is pretty simple and straightforward, and it works pretty much with a deposit of the underlying assets that is done. Can be done by anyone. You just need to deposit this Bitcoin in our case, or any other underlying asset, into a specific Bitcoin address. There is then a secure a software running on a secure sandbox that detects this deposit of Bitcoin and triggers for the Ethereum smart contract to issue newly minted PBTC, which is just the tokenized version, one-to-one pegged with Bitcoin. So once you have the tokenized version of Bitcoin on Ethereum, you can do a whole set of things. So this includes lending, trading, collateralizing, and many more things. And then when you just want to redeem the underlying asset, you can just ask for it and basically deposit the PBTC into a specific Ethereum address. At this point, the PBTC will be burnt by the smart contract, and the underlying asset will be automatically released. Because the whole process is automated, this is also really fast, and straightforward. And this is a very key and important point to improve liquidity and to reduce the spread between the underlying real Bitcoin and its tokenized version. So in a nutshell, what we did is following a simple design in terms of the bridge itself, because the design of the bridge is really simple, and this helps in terms of security, but also in terms of like keeping the whole system lean. It aims for frictionless interaction, again, to create a simple, quick, and friendly user experience. It aims for not being a burden for liquidity, but rather to create an incentive for people and market operators to bring liquidity on the PBTC pair. And finally, it has a look over security. While I said that the design is pretty simple, we are aiming for an improvement over time. So the P tokens bridges themselves follow a very simple design. However, over time, we are aiming to introduce more elements and more features in order for the system to become more decentralized and increasingly secure. So some key elements to that are the introduction of network, so that multiple players, multiple entities can contribute and support the P tokens bridges, and to guarantee the peg of the P tokenized version with the underlying asset. At the same time, we are also planning on introducing a more community governed system, so that we will be introducing a decentralized autonomous organization that will enable anyone who is interested to participate actively into the system and decide what is best to the system and how to evolve it. All this without being a burden for users of P tokens, because these elements are additional elements that will be created and introduced to make the system more secure. At the same time, they will also not be a burden for users that will not be required to interact with the network, with the validators, or with the DAO if they don't want to. So they can just keep using the P tokens bridging, doing the peg in and peg out as they're doing now, without extra burden for them. But at the same time, the system will be increasingly secure and increasingly battle tested. So to do that, we are also working with other players and projects within the community. And that's because having Bitcoin on Ethereum, it's important because it enables for increased liquidity, and this opens up the doors to a whole set of use cases. So we are now going to see a few of them. Decentralized exchanges. So decentralized exchanges is definitely one of the key use cases here. And it is also one use case that is gaining a lot of traction recently. So this is the chart, and these are some stats from February. As we can see, the February activity was pretty big, and it was the highest monthly volume achieved by decentralized exchanges in their whole history. And this is millions traded every day. But let's have a closer look at what happened yesterday. So as you know, yesterday there were a lot of market fluctuations, a lot of things happened. but let's look at the activity of decentralized exchanges. So this is Uniswap. Uniswap yesterday processed on March 12th, it processed more than 32 millions in volume. And over 24 hours, it reached almost 55 millions. Kyber Network, very similar. They processed in one day on March 12th over 27 millions in one day. So this is the case for decentralized exchanges. But now let's look at what kind of currencies they interacted with and they processed. So this is mostly Ethereum. As you see, for Uniswap, this is from CoinGecko, the volume by currency is Ether. And then if we look at Kyber Network, same. The volume by currency is completely Ether. So now if we have a closer look at what happened at centralized exchanges instead, we see that, one first key difference is that to be processed are billions and not millions. So there is still a great difference in figures. But this is also to show the potential of decentralized finance and of a system like P tokens that enables for cross-chain movement of assets. So as we can see here, Ethereum counts for quite a big part of the trades happened yesterday. But then if we look at Bitcoin, we see that the volumes of Bitcoin traded yesterday is almost double, actually way more than double of the volumes of the Ethereum. And if we look at other currencies such as EOS, we see that still it has almost 10 billion in trading volumes, and Litecoins has 7.6 billion in trading volumes. So this is pretty big, and this shows us the potential of that would unlock having other crypto assets available on the Ethereum network. Having Bitcoin on Ethereum can also be helpful for wallets, for non-custodian wallets, because we will make all Ethereum wallets instantly compatible with Bitcoin as well and other non-Ethereum currencies. It will be useful for lending because it can be used as an underlying collateral for lending platforms, such as Compound. You would be able to borrow money and to enable and to participate in the lending platform with Bitcoin, basically. And finally, it will also be useful for the derivatives platforms because you will be able to, again, use as underlying collateral Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies instead of plain Ethereum while building these kind of derivatives. So we believe that this is a key feature and a key element to be included in the DeFi space, that it can open up for a whole set of opportunities and to boost the DeFi ecosystem. So how to interact with P tokens? For developers, we do have a P tokens.js library that enables projects and dApps to integrate with the P token system pretty easily and in a straightforward way. You find that on our GitHub. And also for the community, if you want to try out P tokens and if you want to poke around with it, you can go on our dApp where you can instantly mint and burn P tokens. That's dApp.ptokens.io. And alternatively, you can also use one of our integration partners. So you find P tokens on Kyber Network, Bancor Network. There's a pool on Uniswap. It's integrated with 1inch, and hopefully we will have more going forward. So here are some useful resources for you, and I hope that this was helpful and interesting. Thank you for being here with me and to discuss with me about cross-chain composability. If you have any questions, you can ask me here or join our group on Telegram that's just called P Tokens. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alice. Thank you, Alice.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Bye. Thanks.
And get their suggestions approved. And also, there can be some lack of interest in DAO in those cases when actually DAO is not needed. So it's very important to show what benefits DAO brings to people, like collective ownership of something on blockchain, or some cross-border operations, and so on. And also a couple of life hacks about spending money on DAO. So if your DAO is non-profit, non-commercial, you can use test networks for this. So for non-profit DAOs, we are using now test networks when in those cases when we just need voting and not funds management. Yeah, so this is a very short overview, a little bit fast, brief, but thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you for presenting. Does anybody got any questions? We got 5 minutes.
So if you have questions about how to establish DAO, how to manage it, how to do fundraising, what is the best legal model, you can just let me know.
No questions, no questions. All right. Then I guess we got open.
Also, I can well, I will be working on this presentation. This presentation was made just for this specific conference, but I will update it and I will give a link to it, so you can see it. And if you have more questions, you can ask me.
Thank you, thank you. All right, up next we got where is it? Yeah, the efficient remote meetings and collaborative product design workshop by the Deep Work Studio in the House of Adoption. And how can we measure human social capital versus money capital in the House of DAOs? You are all, of course, free to stay here and chat and whatever, but I'll need to go over there. Thank you again for presenting, and see you around.
Thank you.
recently they also check what you do on Discord. So there's a bot basically checking checking who's writing in what channels and reactions to what's written. So the more likes you get on what you wrote means that you wrote something useful, and the more credit flows to you,
Yeah,
and it
that's
works in getting learning.
a very, very cool use case, right? You can start measuring the different things that that you do for your community. And SourceCred, I think, is one of the pioneers in this space of measuring human capital, social capital versus money capital. Um, and currently we're using in the meta game, we're starting to use SourceCred for that specific reason, right? Pete?
What?
That's exactly why we started to use SourceCred then. It was just a way of measuring the different interactions and the different contributions that the participants of a community have. But this is related to, to GitHub and to Discourse, and hopefully in the future also to Telegram. Is that correct?
Yeah, yeah. Then they have like a different channel that's used for things that can't be measured, like on Discourse or GitHub. So, for example, they actually use SourceCred for everything they do while running the company. And so, for example, when someone books an Airbnb for the company, they have this channel where they give props to people. So it makes it possible to give SourceCred to things that aren't done on GitHub and that are done basically in the real world.
Yeah. I also seen another use case being used by the guys from the Common Stack, which is that they're they're giving some tokens of appreciation for different contributors to the Common Stack community, and basically there's no monetary link directly to the token that you're receiving for contributing for the community. Is there any other use case? Is there any other use cases for having some kind of social human capital?
I didn't get the question. What do you mean other use case?
Yeah, is there any other protocols or any other company that is using some way of creating human capital?
There's Pepper, which is only got started, which is kind of a Meta Cartel internal project done by Eric. He is also going to be presenting it later today. It's sort of similar to SourceCred, and it's only just get started.
Yeah, actually that's a pretty cool use case. So for the people that don't know, we at the Meta Cartel, we were using at the very beginning a game called Pepper 4D, and Eric is going to be presenting today. And basically, we were using this game used as a way of gamifying the human interaction and the human collaboration across all the different channels. So, for example, if you do something for the community or for the Meta Cartel, in that case, you will receive some kind of recognition by the community, and it is not linked directly to money, but it's linked directly to some kind of badge of honor that you will have with you. So as you might know, in the past, when we had communities that didn't have any kind of currency, it was enough just to have some kind of recognition. So, for example, if you bring, let's say, if you hunted like a big deer for your tribe, you will receive, a feather or something that will represent your contribution for your community, and that was already enough for the community to show a sign of appreciation for the person that was actually contributing. And yeah, basically the idea that I'm seeing is that mainly in the cryptocurrency space, we try to measure based on money, but we are seeing an evolution, and we're seeing a shift in the way that we transact, and the human capital is becoming more and more important. And at least from my perspective, I believe that in the future, reputation will be some kind of currency that we have a lot of value. At least that's from my point of view. Do any of you have other opinions?
I think
Um,
go ahead.
Thanks. I totally agree that it's sort of radio currency to have a good reputation, but I think more importantly, it gives people identity, right? If you have like many other peers who confirmed that Bob did something for the community, it sort of implies that Bob is an actual agent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that's basically the idea that your community basically recognizes what you do, and based on that recognition could be used as some kind of currency.
Yeah.
Leon, I think you have two chat rooms. Okay, now you muted one. Okay. Yeah, because there was some kind of feedback. Pete, you were saying something?
Yeah, I wanted to say like there's multiple ways to take it, and like Pepper was doing interestingly is that, as you said, like it doesn't make it backed by money. It keeps it social. So you get reputation, and it's used for signaling in a way, basically gamified. So there was this chat where people would claim, I did this useful thing, and I'm claiming this many XP, and then this XP could be used in this sort of parallel virtual world where it would actually be used to fight amongst each other. So there were these gangs, and you could use the XP to buy weapons or bling or kidnap people in the virtual world. So you get to you make you earn points by doing useful things and collaborating in the real world. And collaborating was supposed to be actually more incentivized than just doing things on your own. But then you play with it in the virtual world, and it's fun, and it's like allows people to signal how much, in a fun way, how much they contributed basically. And in metagame we did it similarly, except like right now it's not gamified. Yeah, it's kind of different direction, because in metagame you don't earn these just XP, which are supposed to be just a way of signaling, because you also in metagame you also earn seeds, which are supposed to be like the actual ownership of the project. So yeah, you can take reputation, you can gamify it, you can play with it, make it signaling, or you can make it basically ownership, equity of the project. But you can also make it both, which I hope we'll do at some point.
Yeah. One thing that is important to mention is that many people have been lying to the whole humanity by saying that that the first kind of money was trading goods and trading things. So for example, Pete will have corn and I will have cotton, and we would exchange. But one thing that people are forgetting is that actually the first kind of trade that was ever made human interactions, and that's what, you know, like many of the companies and many of the financiers that try to hide from us, and they actually are hiding the fact that the first kind of trade that we made was you scratch my back, I scratch your back, and that was and that has some kind of value, and you don't need to have a monetary value, as long as the other person was happy with it and I was happy with it. It will be enough, and that's what we believe that we are going to bring back by creating some kind of social reputation and social capital. However, we need to be very careful on how we design this, because this could turn out to be very similar to what's happening in China with a social credit score, and it could be used, you know, against the humans actually. So it's always important to understand that there could be a lot of things that could go wrong with this new approach of measuring human capital. Do any of you have any opinion?
Come on.
Well, I think no one wants to participate. I guess it's only Pete and Leon who are participating now. I think it's super important, guys, that we have this discussion, you know, because there's a lot of people that believe that you don't need money in order to create value, and I have to say that I agree with that. For example, the meta game has been created without any capital, and all these things, all these tools that we're using currently, have been created by the community, just as a fact of just as a way of appreciating the idea of the metagame itself. And human capital and social capital, in my opinion, is way more important than money capital. Why? Well, we can ask any company owner what is the best asset that they have, and they will tell you for sure is their employees and their human capital, and it's because without the humans, you won't have anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add, I think the last time I tried to say it, I didn't make it clear, but I mean, once we move into, let's say, more mainstream adoption of Ethereum, and you have like millions of people using it, it will be very crucial, like for many applications, if it's voting or sort of like this universal basic incomes, to have a robust human identity, right? So I think that by giving people or recognizing their human capital, like giving this sort of NFTs for some achievements, or like you compared with this, how do you say, yeah, back in the days when somebody was hunting and he received this feather. I mean, these feathers could, if you have a lot of these feathers, it really proves not to 100%, but to a large extent that you are a human and not a Sybil attack in a way. Do you know
Yeah.
where I'm going at?
Yeah,
So I
you
think
can double
democracy
spend
Earth.
feathers.
Yeah. But by like having all this social capital sort of proofs, I mean, you prove that you are a social being or a human. I mean, never to 100%, because it could be that many different people try to like fake this wallet being a human, but it makes it very likely that you are a human, or the wallet that you're using is an actual human.
Yeah,
I think
still,
that's a big value add for the Ethereum network.
faking it, like detecting fake accounts should at some point also become easier, because we will have a graph, so we will see like if there's just a bunch of accounts propping up each other and trying to make each other look like humans, you would see that they're basically an isolated circle.
Yeah. Right.
Anyone else have any other opinion or anything that they would like to share? Pablito, Joao, Kai, and all the non-coiners.
It seems like it says no coiner, but non-coiner.
Okay. Let's. I can't talk on microphone. Do you have any opinion, Kai, that you would like to share? Sadly, it's sad that you don't have a microphone. Okay. Well, Leon, do you have anything that you want to share?
No, thanks, man. But thank you for sharing your thoughts and activities.
Okay. So well, that's basically the conversation that we wanted to have today. Was just to have an introduction of social capital and human capital versus money capital. Again, we need to remember that human interaction is all what brings value to all the things that we do, and we need to also remember that once we're building these kind of systems where we are giving some kind of recognition to other people, we need to be very careful on how we design it because it could be used against ourselves. And yeah, that's basically what I wanted to share with you guys. Sadly, there was not so much participation. I wanted to have actually a round table with all of you guys. I wanted to have kind of like a fishbowl where we participated and we had more ideas on how we can improve and how we can, construct a better way of creating human capital and social capital. But again, there's a lot of experiments going on. One of them, as Pete was mentioning, is the source grid experiment, and then there's also the Pepper 4D experiment, and there's gonna be more and more experiments coming with the creation of these DAOs. Why? It's just because people are creating value for the different DAOs or for the different communities, and and most of the time they're not being rewarded with money, but they're being rewarded with recognition, which is something that is also super valuable for society. And yeah, that was basically the idea of this call today.
Yeah, I think it was also kind of my fault because I didn't really stress. Like when I announced it in the chat, it wasn't at all clear that it was supposed to be an open discussion. It was just announced like every other talk.
Well, it's okay. we can have in the future another open talk about it.
But we have a source cred, so then Dylan will be speaking about source cred at 8 p.m. We have Eric speaking about Pepper 4D at 12:30 p.m. We have Deacon speaking about Raid Guild, which is also kind of based on social capital. There's a bunch of stuff on that.
Yeah, that's something that we will be posting on the chat so everyone can join.
And I'm actually looking forward to hearing Upala and Bright ID and how they plan on solving this cyber attack and how can we get unique identities.
Yeah, because as Leon said, identity is actually one of the key pieces, right, for naming the social capital.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Or I think, in other words, like social capital helps us achieve identity, right? It's,
It's completely linked.
I
It's
mean,
without
yeah,
without identity, you can't have social capital.
yeah.
So yeah,
It's like just as an anecdote on that, I really liked that Paula Berman from Democracy Earth. I don't know if you
yeah,
know her. She said in a conference that blockchain solved the double spending problem, and now we have to solve the double human problem on the blockchain. And I think that's really a nice way to summarize the problem.
yeah, and I think that that's the evolution, because first we have intranet. Let's call it the web 1. Then we have the internet, the web 2. Then we have blockchains, web 3. Now we're having these DAOs and all of these kind of collaborations that is actually bringing human interaction to the technology. And I think that's actually the evolution of the internet, or the evolution of blockchain, which is incorporating the human aspect into the technology.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, that's basically what the DAO space is trying to achieve. Like creating these new ways of collaborations that enable more trust between all the different participants.
It seems to be like more important than ever. Peter was talking about that yesterday on the Meta Cartels. Well, it was really an official Meta Cartel call. But like with all this crypto going down so much, it looks like we have a bunch more time on our hands, and we also have to rely on social capital a lot more, and just get to building, like to build stuff without expecting each other to pay each other, because we're building stuff together. And if we can't get the capital, we just need to organize between each other how to divide work and how to divide ownership and respect, basically.
Yeah, I completely agree. And one thing that is for sure is that during crisis, the point you can is where a lot of things flourish. And we can see that Uber, Airbnb, and many of these companies were actually created during the crisis of 2008. So yeah, this is actually a perfect timing for creating things, I would say, because it will enable more human collaboration, instead of thinking only about money.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, we're not there yet at the point. I mean, right now, like the crash of the global financial economy is rather related to the virus itself. But I guess that at a certain point, like this week, next week, we will sort of have like blaming of financial institutions, that you see like that some credit rating agency fucked up, or like a central bank made bad decisions. So I think once people lose again a big amount of trust into the like
Financial system.
institutional trust layer, it like this trustless networks like Ethereum or blockchains in general might become really compelling alternative for the people. I mean, the last time we saw a similar crash, there was no alternative at all. I mean, Bitcoin was just started in 2009. And I mean, now if this narrative comes up again, like, can we trust banks? Can we trust like central banks? We will have an alternative, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's these periods of calm make people less likely to adopt these ideas. But as soon as shit happens, everyone starts paying more attention to the alternative solutions.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually the perfect timing for for this kind of communities to grow, just because people will be trying to find alternatives, and the alternatives is, I would say, is just getting people together and working on things that they're passionate about. and they value and they trust it.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for the
Likewise.
time.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you.
We got onboarding everyone with building on blockchain with no code. So this is by Dennis and Bertram about Dev Hero, and we got this new blockchain for DeFi. That's I don't know. It replaced one guy that couldn't make it. I don't know what it.
Yeah, that's happening in 5 minutes.
Yeah, happening a new blockchain for DeFi happening in the House of Defiance, and no code tools is happening in the House of Adoption.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
See you guys in the
Thanks a
house.
lot.
See you guys around.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I'm just trying to guide everyone through a little like interactive Miro and Miro/meeting brainstorm thing.
Okay, so this will keep on going.
There you go. Well, kind of. If you want, well, we have another 4 minutes.
Yeah, we got Denison talking here in 4 minutes. But if this needs to go on for a while still, we can just do that in another room.
Oh no, that's fine. We're done in 3 minutes.
Okay.
Basically, I mean, it's hard to kind of introduce everyone who hasn't been here from the start. But let's just spend 2 minutes on voting. I'll just put the timer on, and on the top right you have these blue dots. Just take 3 and place them wherever you feel sounds like a good idea. And then yeah, we're done in 2 minutes. Yeah, you can also copy paste them. They will paste exactly where your cursor is. Goddamn.
It's still a digital tool. It's still annoying as fuck, but yeah.
Yeah.
I think with standardization of sizes and stuff,
Yeah.
would be great.
I don't know if it's possible to lock the sizes somehow. So Miro also has a vote feature, or what do you mean?
Sorry?
What do you mean? Sorry.
I interrupted you. Miro has a voting structure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Miro has a voting feature in itself, but placing dots helps when you do sketches. So you can do the same thing, but not writing on post-its, but actually drawing something on paper, putting it onto Miro, and then putting the red circles into the areas that you think are interesting. So basically here, yeah, I'm going to stop the timer. That's kind of it. This is basically what it feels like. I know this was a super short and super tight example, but if you have like a challenge that's actually kind of serious or is like has some potential to be solved, or if there's anything to be worked on. That's a good structure to pretty much solve everything really quickly within a team, because as you can see, like, we just took a couple of minutes and we came up with millions of solutions, like not millions, but a bunch of different solutions to a bunch of different problems that we all think are currently present. And it's just, by the structure. So if we prioritize them, put them into this little, I'm just kind of dragging them together into a little tree with an example of 1 on the very top, and then 2 on the second one, and then you have a lot of 1 dots. But you see, like, what's actually kind of what seems to be most important, or what seems to be most valuable to work on really, really quickly. And that was like, what, 10 minutes. So yeah, that's basically it. I'll share with you the meeting Legos thing somehow. There's a file. Actually, okay, I can just put the file link here. And you can, if you have Miro, you can basically reuse the backup, and then kind of use it yourself. Here it is. You can download it. There's like all these little different blocks. I put it together. I'm going to update them. Actually, if you want to stay updated, I have a more. Leave me your email. Oh, here's the thing. If you leave me your email address, I can invite you to the actual board, because you might have need a paid Miro account if you don't have one. And I'll invite you to it, and also keep updating the file. Cool. Just yeah, check the link that I just sent through the chat. My time's up. I don't want to go too long into the next one. So have a wonderful day, and let me know if you need anything else. I think.
Thank you, Andre. This
Thank
was
you very
cool.
much for doing it.
All right, cool.
Spreading the facilitation culture and making the digital human.
I hope you can all become facilitators. Please make the world better. We can all do this. If you have any questions, let me know. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, Andre. Bye.
So now we're gonna onboard everyone with Dennison. Are you here, Dennison?
I can also play some music while he's not. Maybe he's in the wrong room. The sheet is somehow gray.
What?
On the spreadsheet.
Let me try to.
Adoption. No, it's blue. Yeah, I messaged him. And also published on Twitter.
Nice.
Come on, Dennison.
And now I shamed him publicly, which helps.
Dennison.
Come on, Dennison.
By the way, if you if you wonder how to spend remote time not working, because I was like, I only work remotely. How can I? There's a Cards Against Humanity thing that you can play with people online.
You play online?
Does screen sharing happen here? Here it is. Does anyone who's used this before understand how the screen sharing works?
Go to the left, to the corner left, on the bottom.
Yeah.
It says share your screen right there.
Yeah, when I click it, nothing happens.
Are you using Chrome?
I'm in Firefox.
Please go on Chrome.
Okay. That'll probably be half the problem. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Okay. Sorry, guys, for that.
No worries. Sorry from our end. We haven't used this tech before, so.
It's the first time that we use it also, so.
Oh, how is it? Okay. How's it been going?
Pretty good, pretty good. A lot of talks, a lot of people coming. You know, it's the first time that we run a virtual conference, and yeah, we are also struggling a little bit.
Oh, there's always got to be a first time. It's the only way you learn, so.
Yeah.
Is it better that we just watch the YouTube and some of us leave? Because most people in this room, I think, at least 3 or 4 of us are from Vega.
It's okay. It's okay. Usually, we could host up to 30 people here.
Hi again, Barney. Oh, we can't hear you, but we can see you.
This is terrible.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
we can hear you now.
Yeah, this is it's interesting. It's really not enjoying the fact I have 2 webcams and 2 microphones, one in the laptop and one on my desk. So I think it's working now. So let's carry on. Let's see if I can share the screen. Yeah, that looks like it's going to work. Okay.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Sadly, we only have 20 minutes left.
Sorry, guys.
All right, like 10th time lucky.
I think 20 minutes is fine, by the way.
Okay, let's see. Now I had to quit, unfortunately, to share my screen because that seems to be the way that works. Okay, so I'm going to share the screen. Okay, is the screen sharing working?
Yes.
Okay, great. We're getting somewhere. Okay, cool. So I'm going to start off with a short sort of intro. Hi, everyone. And also, very annoyingly, can you see the right screen? Can you see the one which is just the slides, not the presenter view?
We can see.
Excellent. So just one big slide, yeah?
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so apologies for that slight setup trouble. We haven't done this remotely yet, and it looks like my system wasn't quite ready. So I'm going to do a quick intro to Vega and myself, and then very quickly demonstrate some of the things that we've built. Obviously, this is a kind of remote video conference style thing, so I'm very, very happy if anyone wants to jump in with questions or anything anytime during the presentation. We can make it quite informal and a bit of a chat. So, as I'm sure most of the people here are probably pretty on board with this already, but we believe that financial trading and most of finance will eventually end up being decentralized. We think there are lots and lots of good reasons for that, and we think that in the same way that the internet sort of decentralized information and connectivity, similar things are going to happen in finance. We also think that it's something that requires quite significant investment and time in technology and infrastructure, and Vega is a company that we've created, or a project in fact that we've created to make that possible and to make it happen as fast as we can. I'm Barney. I'm one of the founders of Vega, and my background was computer science originally. I spent most of my career building trading systems in the kind of traditional finance world, so working with everyone from the London Stock Exchange to sort of top tier investment banks over the last sort of 15 plus years. And at the beginning of 2018, I met my co-founder. Well, actually, I met my co-founder in 2016, but beginning of 2018, me and my co-founder Ramsey sort of finally decided it was time to do this, and we started Vega along with a team of people, including Tamlin and some of the others who I think have joined this session now, in order to make that a reality. So, again, just sort of going at the very high level through some of the reasons why we think this is important. Finance is currently a closed ecosystem. It's very slow to innovate. You have these institutional gatekeepers protected by their regulatory mode, keeping everything closed off, keeping it slow, keeping it inaccessible to people. They also get to charge really, really high fees and commissions. All they're really doing most of the time is running a few servers and maintaining some positions in collateral, and often not even doing the risk management on that particularly well, as we find out every time we have to bail them out. And so, it favors these sort of incumbents and large companies. And we think that that's not great. We think it could be better, and we think it could be better for everyone, and it could be fairer. We also think that market creation is a huge opportunity, in the same way that sort of software in general has allowed everyone in the world to contribute to sort of the development of the systems and the products and things that we have by making it extremely cheap and easy to create software. We think the same thing needs to happen to finance and financial products and markets, as has been started with the kind of DeFi movement on the Ethereum blockchain, but also lots of other sort of projects and initiatives, of which Vega is one. We think decentralization can address all these problems. We think they're structural, not technological problems, and we think that by building the right systems and making things that are really compelling, we can have an impact there. So, talking about Vega a little bit now. Vega is built for trading, which means that we have tried to optimize everything from the consensus layer upwards for the needs of trading, and that can be around the fairness of execution, so making sure that it's not possible to abuse the consensus algorithm or the way that the blockchain works to get an unfair advantage in the markets or when accessing financial products, right up to the sort of speed and throughput and risk management that's needed to do trading sort of properly. And at the consensus layer, what that means is that we, rather than where you have a sort of general purpose, a consensus layer designed to support many different types of smart contract, Vega is its own blockchain, and it's designed to support trading, which means that it doesn't allow front running by paying higher fees. It has other strategies built in as well, which attempt to prevent even front running by being close to or operating a node. And it doesn't apply fees to orders, it applies fees to trades. So actually people who want to participate in a market can participate for free, and it prevents spamming of orders using effectively a proof of work on the client side rather than by applying a fee. At the kind of blockchain layer, sort of on top of the consensus algorithm, whereas in Ethereum, for instance, you have a virtual machine which is quite slow. It does quite a whole bunch of things around maintaining state and running smart contract, but it does them quite slowly, and it's designed to run generic code, and it's necessary that it's that slow in order to validate the outputs of the smart contracts that are run, because they can be very complex. What we've done in Vega instead is build a very specialized core that runs on top of the consensus layer. So instead of being a general purpose smart contract language, we have a very, very special purpose smart product language, which allows you to effectively define products in a very simple way. And actually the Vega software itself contains lots of primitives that allow you to build financial products and trading systems. So it includes order books, price determination methods, margin calculation, risk calculations. It includes execution. It includes handling of assets, settlement, etc. And then we just have these small, powerful, smart products running on top of that layer. And that means that it's very, very quick to build products on Vega, but it's also a lot easier to build correct products, because the trading core that we provide is highly tested and highly standardized, and the products that get built use higher level primitives than are available on some of the other blockchains. So that's kind of the core difference. And oh, I've gone too far. I'm getting excited by the animations here. So that's the kind of core difference. And the way that kind of manifests itself in the networks and blockchains that we have available today is that if you look at what's currently available in DeFi, you have blocks that are ordered by a fee, allowing people to pay to front run the network and get in front of what's going on, or use block stuffing techniques in order to get ahead. Latency is quite high, so it means that you can't have fully on-chain efficient pricing in liquid markets. And if you look at for example, things like Uniswap and the analysis that people have been doing of Uniswap lately, Uniswap provides a good price with a lag to the markets, as long as there is another liquid market to arbitrage against, which means you're still dependent on another market. And we want to say, using something like Vega, hopefully that other market doesn't have to be centralized. We can actually have a decentralized place where we actually get real efficient pricing. And the other problem you have is that it's if you want to do particularly leveraged or margin trading, or if you want to do products like derivatives, futures, synthetics, all things like that, you need to be able to calculate margin and understand risk. And what happens effectively if you can't do that is you either put the network at risk, and we've seen a few instances across some things like DYDX at some point last year, and even I've seen some news today about things going on in Maker and DAI with the volatility we've seen, and sort of emergency actions needing to be taken. So you either get situations where there are issues in terms of how the system handles the risk, and that puts people's balances at risk on those assets, or you have situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient type of product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient type of product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient type of product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient type of product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient type of product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient product compared to what can be done in a centralized world. We are pretty much given situations where you have to massively over collateralize your positions and have an inefficient. Hi everyone, not sure what happened there, but it seemed to hear my voice on a loop for a while. I don't know if you can still hear me now, or if anyone is even still here, but I have rejoined. Hopefully it's gone away.
Hey, Barney. I'll get you back. Yeah, you were looping. Very
I'm not sure what I was. Okay, so yeah, we are fairly convinced that these things that we see as some of the issues with the current crop of products and blockchains that are being used to build decentralized trading and similar applications, they don't have to be that way. We've spent a lot of time with researching both at the blockchain consensus layer, but also at the other layers of the stack. And we spent the last 2 years building something that basically demonstrates that actually we can do a little bit better. And the way we do it a bit better is by building a blockchain as a sidechain effective other networks. So you're still trading Ethereum, you're still trading Ether, ERC20s, you're still trading potentially Bitcoin and other and assets from other chains in the future. But the sidechain that we're building with Vega is designed and optimized for trading fairly and providing sort of advanced trading capabilities. So as of the beginning of this week, actually, we have announced our kind of public testnet. This testnet is kind of a technical preview of our new blockchain designed purely for trading. It is properly decentralized. There are no central servers. Everything happens on chain. When it goes live as an actual sort of mainnet, we will not have any control over, the node operators. We won't have control over what markets run on it. It will be a truly decentralized blockchain for trading and for these products to be, built on and used by the community as they see fit. So a real decentralized project in that respect. At the moment, we're running all the nodes just because it's a testnet and it's easier that way to start with and allows us to iterate the features and fix bugs very quickly. The testnet supports trading via Vega Console, which is a sort of web app that we've built to demonstrate how fast and powerful our blockchain is and to provide people with easy access, but also a set of rich APIs for trading as well. Mentioned the nodes. It's live as of today, so it's actually live and running, and we have probably somewhere on the order of 50 to 100. I'm not sure the number, something like that. People invited and connecting and trading on it as we speak, and that those numbers will increase over the coming weeks and months as we add capacity and get more confident. And it's possible to join the waitlist. There's a link on our website at vega.xyz. So what I'd like to do now is the more interesting part, really, which is to do a bit of a demo of what that all looks like and what it means. So hopefully the screen sharing is going to be on my side here. Can everyone see a trading UI?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, so what you have here is the Vega user interface.
Sorry, Barney. No, I can't. What I do.
Okay, let me see how I'm.
See your presentation.
Still see the presentation. Interesting.
Now we see you.
Close the presentation. Okay, let's try sharing again. How about now? Can you see? Okay, cool. There we go. So we're showing the trading UI. It's called Vega Console. It's a decentralized application. So again, no central servers are used. Everything from the order book you see on the right, updating prices, to the data for the graphs, to position data you see, etc. All of that information is all coming from a network of nodes running the Vega blockchain. You can see I have the market depth here as well, and I can show information about the market that I'm looking at, and you can see that we have a risk model behind that market, which allows the Vega network to actually calculate and maintain margins for this particular product, and a number of other settings. These markets can be created by anyone, so once Vega is live, it'll be possible for people to basically propose markets onto the network, and for the participants in the network and the token holders of Vega to approve or reject the creation of those markets. And the only reason it's necessary really to have that is there's no way for the network to know a priori whether or not a proposed market is real or whether or not someone's being fraudulent. So if I say I'm creating a market in the price of oil and actually just attach it to an oracle that I'm running from my bedroom, then I can obviously fiddle with that oracle and take people's money. So as part of the process of approving a new market, we need to be able to make sure that the community understands the content of the market and that it's not. So just looking for a second at some of the features we have here. We can do limit or market orders, different types. Let's just put a quick market order on size 300 and we do a buy, and you can see that order sits at the bottom there and it's already been filled. So there we go, the market order has been filled, and I have a position open now, 450 Bitcoin, and an unrealized profit of an unrealized loss of 0.01 Bitcoin. So maybe what I want to do now is to close out that position, and you can see I can just enter that in and click sell, and you should see how quickly that appears onto the orders, minus 450, and literally a second or so later that position has gone to zero. Again, this is all decentralized, it's all running on a blockchain. Vega's blockchain is currently based on Tendermint, which is the same underlying technology as Cosmos, but it's not part of the Cosmos network. But you can see the sort of speed power this network gives us compared to a sort of a more general purpose blockchain. Let's have a look now very quickly at some of the APIs. So here, a very simple Python bit of code just to find the markets on the network and print out their IDs. So if I run that, you can see that I get 3 market IDs and 3 market names. So FBTC December 20 futures, and that's the middle one. If I go back and edit this code to print the full response, what you'll see is that full response for one of them. What you'll see is that we get a very rich data structure with all of the information about the market. All of the market includes the Oracle configuration, includes the market calculation, etc.
Just a reminder that you have 4 minutes.
Okay, perfect. 4 minutes is good. And there you can get a very rich amount of data out about the markets. So quickly moving on, let's look at submitting an order. So again, you can see fairly simple Python code all fits on one screen. I can prepare an order, I can submit the order. I have to wait for the blockchain. This is going through consensus. It's not a synchronous system, so I have to do a little bit of a while loop here to wait for the blockchain to actually give me back a response to the order having actually gone through the chain, and then I can print it out. And if you look at what that looks like, see there's the order there, it goes waiting for the blockchain, and there it comes back with the fact that that order was filled, a reference and an ID for the order, the market, my ID as a trading counterparty, and all the other information for the order. So again, you can see very, very simple. And then the final simple bit of example I'll give is just looking at some of my balances and positions. So finding out how much profit and loss I'm making. And again, it's quite simple code. Just get my position for my ID from the node. This is all just running to the API that's running on every single node, and get my account data and then just printing it out. Simple bit of Python there. But that simple Python lets me very quickly see how my position is doing, what my profit is, etc. And you can see that is there. So that is everything that I really had for that demo. This is probably a couple of minutes left, so if anyone has any questions about this or about Vega, then please do let me know.
Thanks, Barney.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey there, everybody. Do we have marijuana here? It's funny, when you say it fast, it sounds like marijuana. Hey, Manu.
Hola, how's it going, hermano?
It's going okay. I don't think I'm sick yet. How about you?
I am.
You are?
I am
Oh,
sick.
man, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you're not, because we were together all the time.
True, but I think it's because you were not like you guys were not contagious yet. So you guys got it straight from Zen. I don't think I have it,
Bro.
but I think I am quarantined right now.
Okay, I actually need to go to another room.
Yeah, so
You're
I'm
moderating
taking
this
over.
one.
Yes. But I don't know the true
Okay.
name of the
See ya.
speaker. What's his name? Maruane.
Have no idea.
Okay. Have a
Okay.
good time.
See ya.
All right, guys. If you are the speaker who are going to talk about DeFi and staking derivatives, we're glad to receive you on the floor. Right, should I make some jokes? What's up, guys? I think we're gonna have another no-show.
So just keep in mind that that's the context of this talk, right? The nodes themselves, the client software that's running on these nodes and servers themselves. I don't know if this is going to work, but I guess there's a raise hand feature in the UI here. So can anybody raise their hand if they're currently running a node? Okay, I see one person. Another, so maybe two. Not Simona. There is so probably maybe two, maybe three if somebody didn't find that feature. Okay, that's good enough. I mean, 3 out of 15 is pretty cool. So there's several different aspects of with what this node ecosystem looks like, and I'll be talking about diversity in general. Okay. One, and the first aspect of the diversity I want to talk about is geographical diversity. So as you can see in this map, the node ecosystem is quite distributed. There's still these main like areas or regions in the world that are more represented in terms of nodes, right? North America, Europe, and East Asia. So there are those three big representations or regional representations, but still quite distributed. And then there's also some specific smaller surface countries, I guess, relatively speaking, that have a lot of concentration. Typically Germany, Singapore, and Hong Kong, right? So the Hong Kong is impressive. It has 6% of the node representation, although it's a very small area. And then if you get more granular data on that geographical data itself, you can get actual precise geographical points through geographical IPs, right? Now, we know that this isn't very precise. You can get, it still gives us an idea of how distributed this is. Points through geographical IPs, right? Now, we know that this isn't very precise. I can actually hear myself here.
Can you guys mute your microphones? Everyone?
Yes, please, everybody can, especially the person typing. Anyways, so as you can see, it's quite distributed. It's much more distributed than we saw in the previous image, and it's spread out. Like we can see in Europe, especially, we get like a very uniform area of different cities that are actually running nodes. It's spread out. Like we can see in Europe, especially, we get like a very uniform area of different cities that are actually running nodes. Spread out. Like we can see in Europe, especially, we get like a very uniform area of different cities that are actually running nodes. Spread out. Like we can see in Europe, especially, we get like a very uniform area. Is that okay? I guess that's better. Reminder to everybody, this is the first InterCon, and there's a lot of things to learn still. The other type of diversity that we can observe in this ecosystem is the miner versus observer or participant node, right? There isn't a specific word for that. I like participant in general because miner nodes are one thing, and then there's these other nodes that are going to be listening to and also sending transactions to the network, right? So we don't have precise data on this. It's very hard to get data on this because of how the tools aggregating this data themselves are actually, they rely upon volunteering data from these node software and clients themselves, right? So basically you have to run this tool on top of your node in order to send information to these aggregator tools. We also don't know precisely how many miner nodes versus non-miner nodes there are in the network, but we do have one very specific number, which is this up here. So what the hash rate is of the network. And today, the hash rate of the Ethereum network is around, because this isn't very exact, this isn't in real time, this is just a screenshot, it's around 200 terahash per second, which, it's quite big, actually. Then there's different types of nodes out there. If somebody in this talk or listening to a recording of this talk wants to run their own node software, I recommend just kind of researching what type of these nodes you'd want to run before doing so. Another type of diversity is, where you can host these nodes themselves, right? So typically, one obvious option is just running this on a computer, like this computer on the left. Another option would be running this on the cloud through AWS or DigitalOcean, etc., or even running this on ARM or ARM devices, right? Like Raspberry Pis, which are basically just very small computers the size of a fist, approximately. One type of diversity that I specifically personally care about a lot is what we call the client variety, right? So, so what clients are running these nodes out there? So for those who aren't too technical in listening to this conversation, this talk, a client itself is just software. It's a software that a computer, that a person, that a wallet needs in order to send and receive transactions to the network itself, okay? And there's a lot of clients out there. These are just 4 examples. And basically, this is what a client looks like. Okay, so it's not very fun to look at. It doesn't have much of a graphical interface. It's a CLI tool, and it mostly just runs in the background of a computer. The reason I care so much about this variety or this diversity in general is because of how important it is for the ecosystem itself. So if you can see here on the right, there's a pie chart that represents the types of clients in the Ethereum network currently. And about 75% of the clients are running on Geth. And I'm a big fan of Geth. I think it's a great, software, an awesome team. It's a project that's been built from this very chaotic, open sourcey way, and that in itself is a huge just positive in general for the network itself. But being honest, it's not cool for Get to have 75% of the node share in the network. It's just very dangerous, I guess, to rely upon. It's almost a single point of failure. So thanks to the other 25%, if something ever happened to Get, which has already occurred, by the way, in the past, these other client softwares are going to be there in order to keep the network running, which is great. But just in general, we should strive to diversify that that landscape today and get more of less represented clients out there running today. So if you are choosing a client, if you want to run a client at home or in your office or on the cloud or wherever, I really would encourage you to look at the other client softwares and don't just go to the default solution, which would be Geth. This slide wasn't mine, so I'll just briefly touch upon it. There's several benefits to running a node, helping the ecosystem and the community itself. There's personal benefits to do so, and just in general, it's quite fun. Another one of my non-slides. There's different costs to running each one of these types of nodes. So before doing so, maybe just use this table here as a reminder and choose one you're more comfortable with. My own feedback and experience running a node is the following. Now, before starting, I should kind of give this disclaimer, I guess, which is that I do have previous experience running these kinds of things. So I used to have like a small mining farm at one point, and this was definitely an experience that helped me with what I was getting into. Having said that, it's still relatively easy and very accessible. Okay, so what I personally did was I got my old ThinkPad computer, which is like a very big 5 centimeter laptop, kind of heavy and robust like they were back in the old days. It's still quite fast, but it's very accessible. I mean, this computer you could buy it on eBay for, let's say, 100 euros or something like that. I added it. I installed a distro, Ubuntu, but it could be any other OS, I guess. Personally, I work at Pegasus and we built Besu, so I thought it was just completely natural to choose Besu, but I chose Besu specifically. You could choose any other client. I installed it. It was a very straightforward process, installing it, reading the instructions of the installation process, and how to run it in the Besu docs themselves. I then ran the software, which was very straightforward again. All you have to do is just type Besu and enter on the command line. And then, to be fair, I did have to tweak it a bit. And that's why this talk might be useful for you. But I eventually got to sync with mainnet, which I'll explain what it means more precisely later on. And to do that, I basically followed this kind of thought process, I would say. So the first thing I did was just run Besu, right? And great. I mean, Besu is all you need to run this client, specific client on mainnet, and have it sync with mainnet. But there were more things that I wanted to do with the client. Typically, I wanted to be able to communicate with the client. I wanted to be able to send it information and retrieve information from it. And for that, you have to open the RPC API port. So you have to add this RPC HTTP enabled flag to your command line. So just to be very clear, you have to stop your currently running node and just rerun it with that flag there. The other thing I noticed is that it was taking a very, very long time to sync. This is valid for all clients out there. If you want a full archival or even a long time to sync of your client, it's gonna take a long time to sync. I would say it's probably gonna take between 30 and 90 days to sync. So I would recommend today, at least personally, what I did was run it with sync mode fast, which is just a fast mode. Will, instead of taking 90 days, it'll take 2 or 3 days to sync with mainnet. There's definitely some disadvantages to this in terms of decentralization and relying upon others' data, etc. But basically, I think it's a good compromise between security and decentralization and just comfort. And the last thing I would recommend running it with is with pruning enabled. So pruning, in other words, just simply means using less disk space on your computer. There's many ways to call each one of these flags and options. In each client, they call them slightly differently and they do slightly different things, but they all have similar concepts, okay? And this is kind of what we recommend, me, William, and Greg recommend running each one of these client softwares with. I'd recommend, like, if you choose a specific client out there, just go and research which one of these options you would want and what flags you would want to run it with. So if you want to get more information on running a node on a ARM device, so these small computers that you see here, I'd recommend getting in touch with Greg Jeanmar. His Twitter handle is on that first and last slide I'm going to be showing, and he can get you more information on that. So these are all his slides. Again, I'll be posting this on, I already posted it on the channel, and I'll probably post it on Twitter. And if you want more information on how to run a node in your background, so basically having a desktop computer with your node running in the background, then you can use the computer for other things in the foreground. That was William's part of the talk, so you can get in touch with him to ask him specific questions about that. Now, having said that, any of these examples you can also ask me about after the talk, and we'll talk about those anyways. So for the quick demo part of this talk, what we did in ETC was kind of really explain differences between what it is to sync a node, and the process of it syncing and what it does and what it requires your computer to do and what it means, really, and the difference between that and once it's synced and how those differ, right? So as you can see here in this graph, you can see that basically at approximately half the time of these graphs, it's only downloading the very first current blocks, right, until he gets all of the blocks, and then he starts to sync with the network. To get all sorts of detailed information and graphs on this, and to be able to monitor your nodes and your resources, there's this one thing that I would recommend is using a mix of Prometheus and Grafana to get these nice dashboards that you can see here on the right and monitor your nodes in real time, basically. Just as a shout out to Bezu again, this comes kind of built out of the box and comes built in with Bezu. I think Geth also has lots of possibilities to add Grafana to your node software, so kudos to them as well. As for ETH2, this wasn't my part of the talk, but so lots of disclaimers here. Not only am I not an expert, this is also a very new ecosystem and things are changing very quickly. But all in all, I'd say my conclusion about this is that there's even though it's very new and there's things are changing very rapidly, and I don't know if the situation is going to be the same in 6 months' time or even less than that or in a year's time. There's still some very cool implementations of these Ethereum 2 clients out there. These are maybe 3 noteworthy mentions. So Lighthouse, Prism, and again, my biased preferred option being Teku, made by Pegasus. I would really encourage everybody as well to kind of test them out. If you find problems with them, why not create an issue on their GitHub page and just kind of let the community know, and that way we can move forward quicker. So yeah, so that's the talk. But I guess I would have just 2 conclusions for this talk. If you can take away 2 things from this talk, the first one is running a node at home or in your office or wherever is actually quite easy, and I would recommend everybody do so. And the other thing is, let's try to diversify that node client software landscape. Let's get other nodes out there representing running in the network, just to kind of be sure that if something happens, then the Ethereum network is going to continue functioning as normally as possible. So again, if you want to get in touch with us for whatever question, these are our Twitter usernames, and feel free to reach out with comments or questions. Anybody have any questions or comments that you want to ask now?
Felipe, you said that for syncing a node, it would take 30 days. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I said it depends on what options you run it with, but it'll go from 2 days to 90 days. So that's a big difference, right? So basically, if you're going to run it with fast sync on, it's going to take 2 or 3 days. If you don't want it with fast sync on, or if you want a full node or an archival node, that's going to be like a 2 or 3 month sync. Now, the other option you would have, and I don't personally recommend this, but you could eventually copy that data off of a node that you trust. So if you have a friend that runs a node, you can copy his hard drive somehow, and then get the data from that sync he already has, and get it onto your hard drive somehow. And that way you wouldn't have any sync time, basically. But again, I would recommend this. It means trusting that node, and that you never know what happens in between.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I'll be wondering if you can answer the question. So what is the benefit for the individual organization running a node besides from like the data that comes with it? Is there any other benefit? Like I can imagine like being able to directly send messages to the network, something like that, or is it just the data you get?
Yeah, exactly. So so there's several different benefits. They really just, and there's a slide here about that. I'm gonna get to that. So basically, you would have direct access to that data, right? So you could not only very quickly access data if you have typically if you have like a tool that's running on top and you want to consult data from the blockchain itself, would be much faster, right? The other benefit would be that you don't have to rely on anybody. You can send your node your transactions, which security in terms of many things out there. It just makes it much more direct, right? You use your node, and your node communicates with the other nodes and propagates your transactions to the network itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like this, like a personal gateway into Ethereum in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah, so you don't have to rely upon, typically, I think MetaMask, for example, uses Infura nodes, which is awesome, right? But it's also arguable how positive it is for so many people to be using the same nodes out there, right?
Yeah.
The other benefit, I guess the more obvious one, but it really depends on which type of node you're gonna have, is if you're mining. And you can mine with, you know, a normal computer, and it will depend on what your definition of benefit is in that case, because you're definitely not going to be earning money in the beginning. But eventually, yes, if Ethereum one day is worth a lot, I guess it could be, you know, worth it, and it could be interesting.
Maybe,
but that's a whole other thing.
Maybe there could be ways like to apply this quadratic funding that's used by Gitcoin grants to like fund people who provide nodes, right?
Actually,
Like,
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah, like have this incentive structure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, at least paying for possibly the, you know, the hardware itself or the costs themselves. That's actually a really good idea. Yeah.
Nice.
In fact,
and one,
send me a message after, because I don't know what your username is, because I don't see anything other than my own slides here. So can you send me a message on this after?
Yeah, I will do it on Twitter. Okay.
Awesome.
That's, yeah. And one more question. Sorry, Van.
Sure.
What is you were speaking of that scenario? Let's say if like 75% of guest clients bug out of nowhere, what would happen to the network? Would it just become less insecure because there's less nodes, or can it really have more